In other news, Iraqi cleric Muqtada al-Sadr says the U.S. is trying to maintain its occupation of Iraq by keeping thousands of its troops there as trainers and private contractors. The leader of the Sadr movement said Washington will keep up with its plots against Iraq through its remaining forces in the U.S. embassy and security firms. Sadr said the U.S. plan to keep some of its troops in Iraq is pointless. He added that Washington won't be able to swindle Iraqis under the guise of training soldiers. According to the cleric, the Sadr movement is awaiting the full withdrawal of all American troops under a deal signed between Baghdad and Washington. The U.S. is obliged to pull out all of its troops by the end of 2011. For more on the U.S.-Iraq presence, we're going live to Baghdad, where we are joined by Dr. Ali al-Nashmi, political analyst. Dr. Nashmi, thank you for joining us on World News. Do you think the U.S. is genuine when it says it will pull out all of its troops from Iraq?
Yes, I think that because there is insist from the Iraqi people, and there is insist from the Iraqi clerics, and there is insist from the Iraqi MPs. And I think no one in Iraq have the courage to declare against that. I think American troops will oppose the Iraqi demand to be out from the Iraq at the end of this year. Yes, I think that.
Well, Dr. Nashmi, do you also think that thousands of trainers and security contractors are needed to stay in Iraq when they're pulling out the troops?
No, we need trainers, but I think we don't need that the huge numbers of trainers in Iraq, because I think there is not the high equipment in Iraq to be trainers, because all the equipment now, the Iraq and the weapon, I think it's very simple weapon. I think this is the similar of they use it in the Second World War. Then that I think we don't need, because the Iraqi people, you know, the history of the Iraqi army. We have the trainers, we have officers, we have many things. Then I think they didn't give any equipment, any high technology. Then I think this is nonsense, and this is a huge number. We need maybe 500 person, not that number of the same.
And Dr. Nashmi, from Iraq's perspective, are the country's security forces at this point ready to take over completely?
Yes, because you know, from the sins of the occupation till now, there is many exploded has taken place, even in the huge number of the American, even in the period of there is 200,000 of American troops in soldiers in Iraq. We saw there is many violence in Iraq happened in 1 day. Then I think that number we don't need it now, and I think the Iraqi army and the Iraqi police, they have the ability and have the equipment to need it to fight, to resist that terrorists. And I think we don't need the American, just maybe in some things, maybe because the American side insists to keep the Iraq without coverage, air coverage, and without any air forces. Then we need some air forces, and we need some intelligence, because they insist to keep the Iraqi intelligence very weak, and when they make the Iraqi intelligence, they bring the Ba'athist and that intelligence. Then I think in this, just in these two things, but if the Iraqi have the ability and have the encourage to composing this kind of intelligence, I said, and air forces, we don't need any American soldiers in Iraq.
Very well, Dr. Nashmi. Thank you for your input. Dr. Ali al-Nashmi, political analyst, joining us from Baghdad, giving his perspective on the U.S. troops' presence in Iraq.